The night was calm, the kind of deceptive calm, the one that made your skin prickle. You were perched on a rooftop watching the city below while debating whether you should actually do this, whether you wanted to get involved in whatever trouble was brewing tonight. The thing about being tangled up with both Spider-Man and Deadpool was that trouble seemed to always found you. Without fail. Hey, gorgeous. You sighed before even turning your head. A red and black clad mercenary landed beside you, striking a pose before speaking. Miss me? Deadpool grinned, tilting his head. You saw me yesterday, he said dryly, arms crossed. Time moves differently in my heart, he said dramatically, clutching his chest. Also, Spidey said you were out here alone and I couldn't have that. What if some creepy masked guy started hitting on you? He paused. Wait, Ignore that. Before he could even respond, a red and blue figure landed gracefully on your other side. Wade, what are you doing here? Spiderman asked, exhausted. Didn't we talk about boundaries? Wade scoffed. Boundaries? Those are just imaginary lines meant to be crossed, he responded, throwing an arm around your shoulder. Besides, Wyan needs my protection. I don't need your protection, he said, shrugging his arm off. I was just enjoying some peace and quiet. Oh, well, good luck with that, Spider-Man said, peering over the edge of the building. Because I'm pretty sure there's a robbery happening down 2 blocks. He groaned. Of course there is. Deadpool pumped his fist. Finally, something to punch. Within moments, the three of you were swinging, or in Deadpool's case, dramatically jumping, towards the scene. A group of masked men were attempting to break into a high-end jewelry store, unaware that they were about to have a really bad night. Spider-Man was the first to drop in, webbing up one of the crooks before he could even react. Hey guys, didn't anyone tell you that crime doesn't pay? He shouted. One of them pulled out a gun, and before he could aim, you were already on him, twisting the weapon out of his grip and sending him to the ground. Really? Guns? You scoffed. So unoriginal. Deadpool, meanwhile, had taken a more chaotic approach. He flipped over the display case, landing in the middle of the group. All right, boys, let's make this fun, he said, unsheathing his katanas, though he clearly wasn't in a stabbing mood tonight. At least you hoped not. The chaos ensued. Webbing flew, punches landed, and Deadpool made sure to throw any ridiculous one-liners he could fit. You fought side by side with Spider-Man, covering each other's blind spots with the kind of ease that came with experience. Wade, on the other hand, was less coordinated teamwork and more wild tornado of destruction. At one point, he leaped into a display, striking a pose. I'm like the work of art in motion, he declared, blocking a punch without even looking. And by work of art, I mean one of those abstract pieces that no one understands that everyone pretends to love. You're more like a mess that somehow gets the job done, he shot back, elbowing an attacker. And yet, you still hang out with me. Must be by charm. And the fight ended quickly after that, leaving a bunch of groaning criminals webbed up in the center of the store. Spider-Man just stuffed his hands. Well, that was easy. Deadpool slapped an arm around your shoulder again, ignoring your glare. That was fun. We should do this every night. You say that like we don't already, you said, shaking him off. Spidey crossed his arms. Yeah, and every night you almost get us in trouble. Deadpool gasped. Me? Get us in trouble? I am the epitome of responsibility. You literally tried to steal a churro from a street vendor yesterday. I was testing their reflexes. Before Spider-Man could respond, you interjected. Okay, as fun as this is, I think we're done here. You turned to Spidey. Wanna drop these guys off with the cops? He saluted. On it. As he got to work, Deadpool nudged you. So, since we saved the day, and I'll have up a celebratory dinner. My treat. You raised an eyebrow. Since when do you pay for anything? He clutched his chest. Ouch. That hurts, YN. They leaned in conspiratively. But seriously, I stole Spidey's wallet earlier, so it's actually on him. I heard that, Spiderman called from across the room. You sighed, but a small smile tugged at your lips. Fine, but no chimichangas. Blasphemy. And just like that, another chaotic night with your two favorite disasters came to an end. But New York never really slept. And tonight felt too quiet. Maybe it was lack of explosions. Maybe it was because for once Deadpool wasn't talking. Either way, something still felt off. So what you're saying is, Deadpool finally spoke, stuffing another handful of fries into his master mouth slit. You guys actually enjoy not fighting crime all night? You sighed, leaning your back against the diner booth. Yes, Wade. Some of us like a little downtime. Spiderman, currently maskless, though, kept his hoodie up to stay low-key, nodded, and took a sip of his milkshake. Yeah, it's called being a normal person. Deadpool gasped dramatically. How dare you insult me like this? I'm extra normal. I'm the most normal. So normal it loops back into being incredibly weird. That sounds accurate, you muttered, sipping your drink. The three of you were currently squeezed into a red leather booth in an old-school diner, taking advantage of their late-night hours. Spidey had actually grumbled about actually paying for the food, but you had intervened before Deadpool could attempt another one of his borrowed wallet schemes. For a brief moment, things felt peaceful. And then, of course, immediately that peaceful had to be shattered. The glass windows vibrated with a distant explosion, and suddenly Spider-Man was upright, pulling his mask on. You were already reaching for your gear as Wade cheered. Woohoo, finally, he said, standing up, tossing a few crumbled bills onto the table. Time to go punch something. Spidey groaned. You don't even know what we're fighting yet. Don't care as long as I get to show off. You rolled your eyes at that, but followed them outside. The explosion had come around 5 blocks away. Smoke was rising between the buildings, and the sounds of sirens were already filling the air. And without hesitation, Spider-Man shot a web and took off. You turned to Deadpool. You gonna... Right you there, he said with a wink before bolting down the street. With a sigh, you took off after them. 5 minutes and a lot of bad decisions later, the scene was... not pretty. A chunk off the road had been blown open, leaving a smoke crater where the security trunk once stood. Scattered debris littered across the street, and a group of heavily armed mercenaries were already grabbing crates from the wreckage. Well, Deadpool mused, drawing one of his katanas. Looks like someone's been playing Grand Theft Explosion. Spider-Man groaned. I'm not in the mood for this. You cracked your knuckles. Well, let's make it quick then. One of the mercenaries had shouted you, and had shouted out, raising his gun. Before he could even fire, Spider-Man shot a web at his wrist, yanking the weapon out of his hand. The fight was on. You charged at one of the attackers, dodging as he swung a crowbar at your head. Twisting, you landed a solid kick to his gut, sending him spiraling to your left. Deadpool being, well, Deadpool, which meant was flipping unnecessarily and making jokes and, of course, causing absolute horrific chaos. Oh no, don't hurt me, he mock cried as he dodged a punch and then pulled out a grenade from somewhere and casually tossed it into the air. Whoopsies! The result explosion sent several mercenaries diving for cover. Wait! Spider-Man shouted, flipping over a crate. What did we say about not blowing things up? Wade smirked. Not to do it while you're watching? Meanwhile, you were dealing with your own problem. One of the mercenaries, bigger than the rest, had decided you were his target. He lunged, throwing a punch you barely dodged in time, feeling the air shift in his fist. Nearly clipped your face. Okay, big guy. Strong punches. Got it. Instead of going head-to-head with brute strength, you used your speed to your advantage, ducking under his legs, and you swept them out under him, sending him crashing down before he could get up. You grabbed a stray piece of webbing from Spider-Man's attack earlier and wrapped his wits with it. Tied up with nowhere to go, you quipped. Spider-Man groaned. Oh no, you're catching on to his frickin' pundices. Wade, meanwhile, had climbed into the wreckage and had dramatically struck a pose. Who, me? I'm a great influence. Before you could argue, the last of the mercenaries were making a break for it, grabbing a crate and spinning it towards the waiting van. Spider-Man shot a web out, snagging the guy's ankle. Oh, no you don't. And of course, the guy yanked back with a surprising amount of strength, pulling Spider-Man off his feet. Okay, didn't expect that, he said. You didn't hesitate before running forward. You leaped forward, tackling the mercenary just as he reached the van, sending both of you rolling. The crate hit the pavement, cracking open to reveal. Wait, that wasn't money. That wasn't weapons. That was tech? What the hell are you even stealing? You muttered, scanning over the strange-looking devices. Spider-Man landed beside you. Uh-oh. That doesn't look good. Deadpool peeked over your shoulder. Ooh, is that government stuff? Or evil science stuff? Either way, we should probably stop them from taking it. You turned only to see the last mercenary desperately reaching for the button on his wrist. Nope, you said. Before launching forward, you managed to knock his hand away just for a second. The explosion rocked the street. The smoke bellowed around you and the mercenaries. Backup finally arrived in the form of a hovering, armored vehicle. The back door slid open and more goons jumped out. Deadpool clapped his hands. Finally, a proper boss fight, he said excitedly. Spider-Man groaned. I hate when you say things like that. The new mercenaries wasted no time before opening fire. Spider-Man had grabbed you and leapt out of the way, slipping mid-air to land behind a damaged car. Deadpool, of course, charged straight in. Cover me, he said dramatically before running in. Spidey shouted as well, webbing up to one of the goons. You nodded, darting forward to intercept another attacker. A fist came at your face and you ducked it, countering with an elbow to the ribs. Next to you, Deadpool was swinging his swords, what looked like a completely unnecessary amount, but admittedly was effective. Is this really the time for fancy moves? You shouted. He grinned behind his mask. It's always the time for fancy moves. Then, without warning, the armored vehicle blasted a energy bomb at you, one that barely missed. Oh, come on, Spider-Man groaned. This was supposed to be an easy fight. You exchanged a glance. Yeah, this was far from over. And somehow, with these two idiots by your side, you knew it would only get worse. To be continued.